All right, so we're diving into King Nebuchadnezzar today. And I bet you're here because, well, who isn't fascinated by this story, this whole transformation thing?
It's a wild one.
Yeah. I mean, we've got these excerpts, right? They go into why, at least according to this text, God turned Nebuchadnezzar into an animal.
Right.
And we're going deep. We're going right into the king's own words, trying to see, like, what can we actually learn from this?
Well, and the thing about Nebuchadnezzar is he wasn't just some king,
Right.
This was the king of Babylon, like
Yeah.
peak Babylon. This is the Hanging Gardens, military conquests, solidifying an empire, the whole deal.
Oh, yeah. Big deal.
Huge.
But the thing is, this powerful ruler has this like life-changing encounter with the God of Israel.
Yeah. And it changes him completely.
Completely. I mean, it's pride, it's punishment, it's redemption.
And it all starts with this really unsettling dream.
Okay, so this isn't the first time, right, that Nebuchadnezzar has had a dream he needed some help figuring out. But this time, it's not about forgetting. He remembers it vividly.
He remembers every detail.
But the money,
That's the problem.
it's gone.
So, the dream. We've got this massive tree reaching like all the way to heaven.
Okay.
And this symbolizes Nebuchadnezzar, right? His power, his reach, the whole thing. But then suddenly it's chopped down.
Oh, wow.
Just a scump. And then a messenger straight from heaven. This messenger says, "Hey, king, you're going to live like a beast for 7 years."
Oh, talk about a wake-up call, right?
No kidding.
But I mean, this image, the tree, it's so powerful, and it's like, it's his pride,
Absolutely.
his self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
It's like a warning.
A big one.
Like there's something bigger than you here.
There's definitely a force greater than him at play, for sure.
Exactly. It's like human power isn't everything.
Right.
There's something higher, this divine power, and even a king can be humbled.
Even the mightiest.
So you'd think, right, after a dream like that, he'd get the hint,
You'd think.
change his ways.
He gets the chance, though. He does. He's told to repent, humble himself.
Okay.
But a year later,
Oh, no.
pride's back. He's boasting, taking all the credit, basically forgetting the whole dream.
And that's when the consequences really hit.
Hard.
Loses his sanity, his grip on reality.
7 years.
7 years living like an animal.
Total transformation. It's almost like de-evolution. He's living outside. His appearance changes. He's even eating grass.
Wow.
It's like a fall from grace,
Mm-hmm.
stripped of his power, his dignity.
It's a powerful image, but I mean, is there anything to back this up? Like historically, this madness.
Well, Babylonian records, they don't specifically mention insanity, but there's this gap, right,
Right.
where the biblical account puts it.
Ah,
And there's this Greek historian, he writes about Nebuchadnezzar being possessed by some god
oh, wow.
and disappearing for a time.
Okay, so maybe it's not just a religious interpretation.
Right.
Maybe it's how they viewed mental health.
Oh, possibly.
Or like how they explained stuff they just couldn't understand.
It definitely raises questions about psychology, spirituality, history. What we call madness now might have meant something totally different back then.
Absolutely. History's always open to interpretation, right? And these ancient stories, they have layers.
So many layers. It's about looking beyond the surface, exploring all the different ways we can understand this, historically and just, like humanly.
So we've got this powerful king. He's lost everything he valued. He's out there living like an animal. What happens next? Does he recover?
He does. He recovers. And it's pretty remarkable.
Really?
Yeah. After those 7 years, sanity comes back,
Mm-hmm.
and he acknowledges God, God's sovereignty, praises him, his power, his justice.
It's like this total reset,
Yeah.
stripped down, ego's gone, completely different perspective.
Yeah, I like that. A total reset. It's humbling. He has to confront his own, limits.
Right.
Recognize that there's something bigger.
And it's not even the first time he's encountered the God of Israel. Remember that statue dream?
Oh, yeah.
The one with all the different metals, the kingdoms?
Right. Daniel lays it all out. God's in control of history. Makes empires, breaks empires.
And Nebuchadnezzar's impressed. Even back then, he acknowledges Daniel's God, calls him the God of gods, Lord of kings.
He did.
But it's like, knowing isn't enough.
No, not even close.
He knew about God's power, but he hadn't felt it.
Exactly. Knowing something in your head, that's
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah.
But really getting it, in your gut, through experience, that's Nebuchadnezzar's journey.
Because he goes through this difficult time.
Dehumanizing almost.
And that's what it takes to understand this God.
It's wild, right?
And then he issues this decree, this public declaration praising the God of Israel.
That decree, it's incredible. He talks about God's eternal power,
Yeah.
that even kings, even the most powerful, can be humbled.
Mm.
And we got to recognize that authority.
And he's back on the throne at this point, right?
Oh,
he could have just ignored the whole thing.
Easily.
Swept it under the rug. But he doesn't. What makes him do that? Make this big public statement?
I think it's how deep this change goes. It's not about getting his sanity back or the throne. It's like his whole worldview shifted. He sees where real power lies, aligning yourself with a bigger purpose.
It makes you think about, like, our own challenges.
Right.
What do? Do we fight? Try to control everything? Or do we, I don't know, let ourselves be humbled and maybe learn something?
It's a good question. It's like Nebuchadnezzar saying, hey, sometimes those really hard things, they make us grow the most.
So this king, right, known for war, for building, now he's known for this humbling, this change. I wonder what people thought back then.
Well, kings, they were like the link between gods and people.
Right.
So for him to come out praising the God of Israel, huge.
Total shock.
Oh, yeah. Imagine, like, the biggest celebrity today suddenly saying, I'm living a completely different way now.
Yeah. People would freak out.
Totally. They'd be questioning everything, their beliefs, their whole system.
So this isn't just a personal thing for Nebuchadnezzar. This could change how all of Babylon sees the world.
Exactly. That's what's so fascinating. One person changes, and it ripples out, impacts a whole society.
It's like actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
But bigger. More like transformed kings, they inspire nations.
I like that. It's about real leadership. Authentic. That's what shapes culture.
So we know he changed. But what about his actual ruling? After all this, was it different?
The text doesn't give us a ton of details, but it does say things went even better after.
So I wasn't just getting back what he'd lost.
Nope.
It's like he leveled up. More leadership, more prosperity, maybe because he'd learned humility.
Could be. It's like saying aligning with a bigger purpose, letting go of ego, of control. That actually leads to success.
Which is weird, right? Because usually we think to succeed, I got to be in control, I got to push. But this story's saying maybe it's the opposite.
Surrender to something bigger. That's how we unlock our real potential.
It's a common idea. Lots of spiritual traditions talk about humility, surrender. That's the path to, enlightenment, fulfillment. So we've got this personal journey, the impact on society. Even greater success after the humbling. But what if he'd never had that dream? Never gone through the madness?
Interesting. History's full of leaders who let pride, ambition consume them. It's their downfall.
Maybe that dream, as messed up as it was, saved him from something worse.
Maybe it forced him to see his limits, his values, and then he aligned with a different kind of power.
The kind that comes from understanding your place in the grand scheme.
Exactly. So maybe those things we see as setbacks, they're actually redirects.
Course correction.
Yeah.
Okay, so we focused on Nebuchadnezzar, but what about us? Today. Totally different time, different world. What does this story have to do with us?
Well, it's about stuff we all deal with, right? Pride, searching for meaning, redemption. It's human.
Like a parable almost.
Yeah, and parables, they make us think. They challenge us.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to make us apply that wisdom to our own lives.
So even with skyscrapers and smartphones and everything, we're still asking the same questions.
The big ones. Power. Purpose. Our place in all of this.
And Nebuchadnezzar's saying, hey, real power doesn't come from stuff or from being the boss. It comes from changing on the inside, recognizing our limits, aligning ourselves with something bigger.
It's a powerful idea.
It is. So to truly succeed, maybe we need to let go.
Humble ourselves.
Be open to a power that's working through us, not just by us.
It's like those trees we were talking about. What are they in our lives? Where's pride blocking us? Ego, fear. What's stopping us from being our best?
Are we ignoring any dreams? Any wake-up call?
And what happens if we actually embrace those challenges? Let ourselves be humbled? Could we be transformed?
Yeah.
Like Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah. It's like those trees could be anything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Beliefs we're holding on to, habits, even like societal things, stuff that's not working anymore. What would it take for us to see those trees and actually, I don't know, maybe let them go?
It's a good question. Like, what if our biggest problems as a society, they're actually chances to change for the better? What trees would we have to cut down to make a better future?
Wow. That's a lot to think about. But it makes you realize this Nebuchadnezzar story,
Yeah.
it's not just some old tale.
No, it's more than that.
It's about being human, pride versus humility, and growing, even when it's tough.
It's like a human journey.
It is. And it's not even just about religion.
No, not at all.
It goes deeper.
Way deeper. It's in every culture, every belief system, recognizing we're all connected. We're part of something bigger. And changing, transforming, comes from surrendering to that.
So this king who built one of the 7 wonders of the world,
Right.
he might actually be more famous for, well, for losing it all out in the wilderness. Like, that's his biggest legacy.
It's interesting, right? True greatness. It's not always about what you achieve.
Yep.
It's about growing inside, letting go of ego, and just becoming something new.
So as we wrap up, this deep dive into Nebuchadnezzar, what's the one thing you want people to take away?
I think it's the trees. We all have them. Those places where we're stuck on pride.
Right.
Or thinking we can do it all ourselves. Or being afraid. Imagine, what if we actually saw those things? And we're open to getting rid of them. And then something new could grow. Something that's aligned with, what we're really meant for.
That's a powerful image and a good reminder. Sometimes letting go, that's the biggest change of all. Thanks for joining us on this journey. It's been, well, a deep dive into history and the human heart. Until next time, keep searching for those aha moments. And remember, sometimes the greatest growth comes from the deepest dives.